Self-regulation needs a solid architecture and must be reliable at EU level. However, for the EESC it is paramount importance that self-regulations does in no way lead to any form of deregulation. This means that there should be no contradiction between preserving the community acquis and letting legislation develop, keep pace with changes and adapt to them.
My hope in the next 25 years is that we continue this mission to ensure that responsibility remains at the heart of all advertising players in this ever-evolving digital universe, and that our positive, responsible approach continues to be recognized by policymakers as an effective, credible alternative to detailed legislation.
Consumers back then already imagined that their future lives would be completely intertwined with technology. The future of the consumer is incredibly difficult to predict.
A world of no stopping queues. And I think this is one of the impacts of technology, where previously advertising had clear parameters around it. There was a break, there was a page that you turned. Now we have media that is never ending. It never ever stops. You scroll and scroll and scroll and there is no end.
This conversational computing, voice computing, will bring entire new scenarios into play to engage with customers more closely and more productively.
I think we've all sort of been in that scenario where you can't not know something for a moment. If you have a question in your mind, you're going to pick up your phone and figure out what it is. And I think what we've seen at Google is increasingly sort of every decision that you make, even small decisions, needs to be informed by information.
The online behaviour generates very useful data on preferences, and it can feed into increasingly relevant and targeted advertising. And this is of course good for business, but it's also good for consumers as well. You, I think, have been very active and at the forefront of developing self-regulation, taking these digital benefits and challenges, and we really welcome that. And I think you are to be congratulated on the work that has been done there.
For SMEs, advertising is 8 times more efficient than for large businesses, but yet in the UK, only 30% of SMEs advertise. And so and I think that there's a job and an opportunity for the industry and for regulators here, which is the education piece, making it as simple as possible for these small businesses to operate, and that is a challenge.
Awareness is increasing, but many consumers have not the slightest idea still, how they are targeted, how they are profiled, what is done with their data. They haven't given consent. So this is a huge task, I think, for the self-regulatory industry to really find ways to tackle these things. And you cannot only rely on complaints.
As an influencer, you really don't want to trick your audience, because your audience is your currency. And if you trick them, they will get angry and they will leave you.
The rule that ads must be transparent and must be clearly identified as such, that's a rule that's been in existence in Ireland anyway for 36 years. The rule hasn't changed, but what has changed is that there are new people and new ways of presenting information to audiences.
Self-regulatory systems that we're feeling need to make use of creativity more than ever in order to provide new solutions, new tools to the industry to face the new challenges that are coming from the digital transformation.
Advertising is often on the edge and creativity can sort of go out of line. But my experience is that most advertisers are very careful when marketing their brands, as consumers don't want to be offended, misled or cheated by advertising.
In the search of good communication and to connect with our consumer, years ago, we, as an agency, we needed to make distinctive work. My personal belief is that we should go for what we call in the agency the no asterisk brands without an asterisk.
When we do self-regulation, or we have a corporate code of conduct, the Mars Marketing Code, innovation, creativity, no business gain, they don't enter into the conversation, right? You don't decide to regulate because of that.
No.
Now, that's certainly not why we regulate ourselves. We regulate ourselves because society has moved on.
As a media, as a program broadcasters, we need to ensure the viewers that trust is the given for TV when it's news, when it's game shows.
We are there as regulatory authorities because we are there, I can be there as a chair because I'm also the chair of the Dutch Regulatory Authority. And what we do as European regulatory authorities, we protect the accessibility, pluralism and the independence of audiovisual media.
The future is not something we enter, the future is something we create. The success of EASA today is not something that just happened, it's the result of some very talented and dedicated people setting out and making a reality a constantly updated vision of the future.